May 10th, 2026, episode 633. This is episode 633. Let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. Shall we? Utah woman who wrote the book on grief gets life without parole for killing husband.
Accordingly, Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 1, first-degree felony aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to life without parole.
Kouri's selfishness and cruelty did not end with Eric's murder. In the time after Eric's death, Kouri has done nothing but isolate, manipulate, deceive, and do harm to those boys. Almost immediately after Eric died, she cut them off completely from our family.
Damn right, life without parole. She's young enough to remarry, and we don't need another book. We don't need her writing any more children about how to deal with grief, especially when she's the one out here dealing out all the grief. We don't need a follow-up to that story. The book was centered around the loss of a father. It couldn't have been more on the nose. Some might even say it was tone-deaf, calculated, or even performative. A Utah mother who published a children's book about grief after the death of her husband and was later found guilty of killing him. That's a Lifetime movie and a half, has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. If you're a true crime nut, or if you're just interested in hearing a weird story, this was the one to be following for a few years now. Kouri Richins was convicted in March of aggravated murder for lacing her husband's cocktail with 5 times the legal dose of fentanyl at their home near Park City in 2022. A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free. I agree, Judge Richard Mrazek said when handing down the sentence on the day her late husband Eric Richins would have turned 44.
Kouri used the boys as bargaining chips with my dad. She repeatedly threatened not to let him see his grandsons unless he could convince me, as Eric's trustee of his trust, to capitulate to her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Kouri provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family.
True Crime 101. When a spouse dies, especially in a fentanyl overdose, when she said herself that he had no history of drug use, then of course she was going to be suspect numero uno. Investigators start doing some digging into finances, which is always a top motivator to murder your spouse. And there you have it. People say money isn't everything in a relationship, but what they will ignore is that money trouble can break up the staunchest of relationships, especially when one spouse is mostly the cause of the money trouble. Prosecutors said Richins, a 35-year-old real estate agent with a house flipping business, was millions in debt, 1.8 to 2 million if I'm not mistaken, and planning a future with another man. If you're that other man and a woman tells you she's going to get rid of her husband, she's going to leave her husband to be with you, then you raise anchor and you set sail as quickly as possible, because it's only a matter of time before that fentanyl sandwich makes its way to your plate. She had opened numerous life insurance policies on Eric Richins without his knowledge and falsely believed she would inherit his estate worth more than $4 million after he died. Falsely being the key word. Jurors in Park City also found Richins guilty of 4 other felonies, including attempted murder for trying to poison her husband weeks earlier on Valentine's Day with a fentanyl lace sandwich. Eric Richins' sister, Amy Richins, said after the verdict that she was just very happy that we got justice for my brother. Now, if you look at the video, it's from the New York Post that has a great shot of Amy Richins giving the victim impact statement, and you can see in the background Kouri Richins, which has a face that I can only describe it as unbothered, like she's more concerned about winning than it was about the gravity of what happened and what's actually happening, and could now focus solely on supporting his sons, who were ages 9, 7, and 5 when their father died. Jurors in Park City also found Richins guilty of 4 other felonies, including attempted murder for trying to poison her husband weeks earlier on Valentine's Day with a fentanyl-laced sandwich. Nasty work. Richins has been adamant in maintaining she is innocent. Well, she's not going to come clean, is she? Saying on Wednesday that her verdict was an absolute lie.
I can beat myself up all day about how I could have been a better person or made better personal choices. And I can understand and accept you boys being upset about those things. But murder? No, absolutely not. I will not accept that. And I will not be blamed for something I did not do. I will appeal and fight these charges.
She definitely wrote the book on grief, because by the time she got done, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. The death dealer giving your husband a fentanyl sandwich on Valentine's Day is nasty work. Giving your husband a fentanyl sandwich on any day is nasty work. If there was really another man in the picture, like prosecution alluded to, then he would have to be out of his mind to entertain her, to mess with her without thinking the same could happen to him. Throughout the trial, prosecutors portrayed the mother of 3 as a money-hungry killer. They showed the jury text messages between Richins and her lover. Got those receipts, baby, hot off the press, in which she fantasized about leaving her husband and gaining millions in a divorce. Prosecutors also displayed the internet search history from Richins' phone, which included queries about the lethal dose of fentanyl, luxury prisons, and how poisoning is marked on a death certificate. What defense can fight against that? Johnny Cochran could come back and wouldn't stand a chance against that. Of course, I love to hear your thoughts on this. I love to hear your opinions on this. The delusions. She ran the life she had into the ground and thought it would be easier to just erase everything and start over. It doesn't work like that. The husband was well aware of her mounting debt, being that he shared a stake in some of her business ventures. And duh, you're married. How wouldn't he notice your millions in debt? Then he wisely took measures with his estate planning before his untimely passing. What would make her think that she would get a nickel of anything instead of him making sure everything went to his children? Woman arrested after allegedly trying to strangle another driver.
33-year-old Tiffany Lee was taken into custody after police say that she got out of her car and then tried to strangle another driver. Well, the victim told police that Lee tailed behind her and then began honking after her after she pulled out of the McDonald's drive-thru slowly. Officers say Lee got out of her car and at a red light and then grabbed that victim by the neck through her car window. Now, we know Lee is being held in jail without bond and faces charges of strangulation, driving while suspended, and disorderly conduct.
Mr. Lady, that is a pretty pronounced mustache going on in this photo. No wax, no trim, no nothing. She is fully liberated. She looks like a musketeer. She looks like Rocky IV training in the Russian mountains. She looks like Blue Bloods, like Magnum PI, like she breaks legs for the mob. It's only McDonald's, Mr. Ma'am, sir. I promise you, your day would have only gotten better had you left that woman alone. Evansville police say they've arrested one woman on charges of strangulation and disorderly conduct. It makes you feel strong, doesn't it? Taking your anger out on women with definitive female features. EPD says this happened late Thursday morning, just after 11:30 a.m. at the intersection of North Burkhart Road and the Lloyd Expressway. One woman told police she was in her vehicle in the McDonald's drive-thru, saying that when she exited, she did so slowly to avoid her vehicle bottoming out like most drivers do. She stated that as she pulled out, the driver behind her began honking and yelling at her. Which one is it, kids? Road rage or roid rage? A little testosterone shot in your cup of joe. Start your day off right. That poor driver was probably terrified at the sight of a lip-furred, cookie-dustered, mustachioed woman for lack of a better descriptive term, barreling towards her vehicle and not with good tidings. She stated that she exited the parking lot and entered traffic on southbound Burkhart to turn right onto westbound Lloyd. She said that while she was stopped at the traffic light, the other passenger vehicle continued to follow her, honking and yelling at her. She probably thought it was another man trying to get her phone number. That driver, later identified as 33-year-old Tiffany Lee, Mr. Tiffany, then approached the other vehicle. The victim told police that Lee reached into her vehicle. Mr. Tiffany grabbed her by the neck while yelling at her, and she probably thought that angry man was going to kill her. Little did she know that's not a man. She stated that the only thing she could do to defend herself was to start rolling up the window. Smart move. While doing that, Lee's arms got stuck between the window and the door frame, eventually pulling her arms out and then began beating on the closed window. Here's a conspiracy theory for you. The old mustache with glasses routine is so cliche. A woman wearing a man's disguise that beats on other women in some attempt to kick the patriarchy in the nards. You take off that mustache and glasses, and that's the difference between William Bruce Jenner and Caitlyn Marie Jenner. Of course, for now, these are just accusations. There's no guarantee this woman is going to be definitively found guilty of anything, but this is hilarious though. The victim says that Lee got back into her vehicle and left the area westbound on the Lloyd Expressway. During the course of the incident, the victim was able to get a picture of Lee, thank God, because there's not a sketch artist on the face of this earth that would have been able to capture the gist of what this woman saw in this other woman's face. Police were able to match up the picture of Lee's BMV photograph. Further investigation through the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicle Records revealed that Lee's driver status was suspended prior. So, you know, if you're driving while suspended, you probably don't want to draw that type of attention to yourself. And then, I don't know, if you have a full mustache as a woman, they probably think you're a man anyway. They probably mistake your identity. Lee was taken to the Vanderburgh County Jail on charges of strangulation, disorderly conduct, and driving while suspended. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I love to hear your opinions on this. You know, despite the title, several times I had to stop and make sure I wasn't misgendering a male with delicate features. I know, I've gotten soft over the years. Fun show. The music for this episode is from Iggy Beats. Get your music from Iggy Beats. I'll leave the contact information down there at the bottom. If you're a producer and you would like to have your music featured on an episode of this podcast, reach out to me on any one of my socials. Don't forget to follow me on all my socials. Find me wherever you listen or watch your favorite podcast. I am there. That being said, I'm going to wrap this one up, but I'll be sure to talk to you guys very, very soon. Jusqu'à la prochaine fois. As investigators start doing some digging into finances, which is always a top motivator to motor